Hi everyone and welcome to another Vitamin Mastery Q&A session with the master himself, that font of wit and wisdom, the one and only Andrew Shaw. Great to see you, Andrew. It's been a while.
Well, thank you, Michael. I always look forward to your introductions.
You deserve them. Anything I say, you deserve. Well, straight into a great selection of questions. Oh, I must point out, I've taken Joe Mercolo's message to heart. He was the first one I heard saying that sitting is the new smoking. So I'm standing to do this with you, Andrew. So our first question is from Carol. And Carol, thank you so much for sharing this, because this is quite a story. You know, I think people tend to joke about OCD, but for anyone who really suffers from OCD, it's no laughing matter. And Carol has a 25-year-old son who is quite badly affected. It seems to affect just about every aspect of his life, from washing to shaving, walking, everything. Now, Carol says he is on inositol powder, 18 grams a day, and that seems to take the edge off, but there's still a lot of anxiety. He can't get to sleep, all sorts of issues like that. Her question is, will niacinamide, and she's reckoning it'll probably be 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. Do you reckon, Andrew, that that will help? And if so, how soon might Carol see some improvement in her son's condition?
Well, I think niacinamide would help, and that's because Dr. Abram Hoffer, who himself a famous psychiatrist and my personal mentor, used that exact dose of 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. Now, Dr. Hoffer would use niacin more often than niacinamide. And the reason people are inclined to use niacinamide is because it does not cause a flush. And if you take 1,000 milligrams of niacin 3 times a day, you're probably going to light right up. You're going to get a glow on you. You're going to look like you have a sunburn, and you're going to feel like you're having a hot flash, because niacin dilates the small blood vessels. So niacinamide does not do that. And for OCD, I think that you would get good results either way. It's probable that because you're taking the inositol, you're getting some benefit, because inositol is related to the B vitamins. Niacinamide is one of them. In addition to taking the niacinamide, I would also take a good B complex supplement with each meal. And keep in mind that with this, you're not necessarily going to see instant results right away, but you might. I don't know how to put that any other way. It could take a good long time before you really see things smooth out. I would give it a good 3-month trial, but I know people that have had results within a matter of days. So it's certainly a good idea to try it. Niacinamide, 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day, is a general dosage. I'm not prescribing. I'm not a physician. Only your physician can do that. But people can and do test this. Try some niacin, try some niacinamide, see if it works. Remember, if you use niacin, you're going to have the flush. If you use niacinamide, you probably weren't likely to have that flush. So I would give it a try. I think you have much to gain.
Well, thankfully, Carol's son seems to be a bright, active young man. He exercises, he eats well. Carol's had difficulty getting some decent therapy. She says no psychologist or psychiatrist had really helped very much. And in fact, have traumatized him with the wrong approach. He was prescribed with Lexapro and Paxil, and they didn't work or gave him bad side effects. So her other little question is, if he takes inositol long term, is that likely to affect his estrogen level or blood sugar?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with taking that much inositol. You mentioned 18,000 milligrams a day of it. I do not know whether or not that would have the effects you're talking about. I can tell you that with niacin, sometimes it will slightly raise blood sugar, sometimes it will lower it. So this is a rather individualized issue. May I also point out that Dr. Hoffer considered a lot of illnesses to be biochemical in nature, and OCD may be one of them. I'm not down on therapy. I think therapy can be very good, But one of the reasons why therapy might not be working is that therapy is not the cure. If it's biochemical, all the talk therapy in the world is not going to solve the real problem. And this is where the niacinamide actually can help.
Well, Carol, from Andrew and me, best wishes with your future, and keep us advised, and thank you again for sharing a very important story. We have another niacinamide question now, Andrew, from the Netherlands. After reading Niacin, The True Story, Anne-Marie says she's wondering if she can take niacin and niacinamide at the same time. I think I qualify for both types. It's for balancing the nervous system, especially sleep and fatigue, and the effects of anorexia 40 years ago when she was 17. She has had Lyme's disease, treated for that. Poor sleep remains. She has lots of stressors. So she's thinking of 2,000 milligrams, and again saying it's very difficult to find a doctor or holistic practitioner where she is. So thank you for wonderful information so far. And what do you reckon about niacin and niacinamide?
Well, there's no problem. They both are going to have the same beneficial effects for people that are having mental issues, mental health issues. They both work for that. They both also work to help treat or prevent arthritis, osteo, and rheumatoid. Only niacin has a positive effect on blood lipids. So raise HDL and lower triglycerides. There are those people who prefer niacinamide for anxiety type of disorders. There are people that prefer niacin. Dr. Hoffer was one of them because he felt the flush was in itself beneficial. But you can use both niacin and niacinamide, get the best of both worlds. I think more than anything, it's going to be the total dose that does it. If you take 1,000 milligrams total, you probably won't get good results. And if you take 3,000 milligrams of one, you probably will. The exact amount is going to vary, but I think it's more the dose than the form as at your convenience. The one that works for you is the one to take. Just do the therapeutic trial. They're both vitamin B3. They both have value. You see what your body wants by giving it a try.
Excellent advice. Now, another niacin question, an interesting one here. I hadn't thought of this one before. How much niacin or niacinamide should a 7-year-old boy take, and for how long for ADHD? And should he get a liver profile later on? So that's the first part of the question. What do you make of that, Andrew?
The dose is going to depend on the need. A 7-year-old boy, it's obviously not an adult, so we can assume right off the bat that the 3,000 milligrams in 3 divided doses, 1,000 each, that Dr. Hoffer would use for an adult would probably be more than a 7-year-old boy would need. Not necessarily. I know some youngsters that need quite a lot of niacin. I know some adults that need less. There's a theme in what I'm saying here. We don't know. We have to see what works. But certainly with a child, you err on the side of low. You start with a small amount and you can gradually work up and see, again, what the body responds to. So you could start a youngster on a very small amount. If you're using niacin, you're going to have a flush. Now, how are you going to explain that on the school bus? I know, because I had good friends whose little boy did take niacin and did get on the school bus and did flush bright red and had to explain it and simply intelligently said to the driver, well, I have an allergy. And at that point, everybody calmed down. But some people in schools are going to overreact to that and they're going to take the kid to the hospital. So the last thing you want is to have a flush event at school. 7-year-olds are almost always at school and should be. So the niacinamide will not cause a flush. So you mentioned niacin or niacinamide. I would lean towards niacinamide for a child in this situation. Both will work with ADHD, but the flush is what you probably want to downplay or avoid totally. How much? We don't know. But when you start out, start small. I would divide the dose 3 times a day, as Dr. Hoffer said, and open with a very small amount, gradually increase and see what amount works for the child. I can't give you a dosage amount because I don't know. You don't know. but the child's body does know. You take what works, keep an open mind, and just gently apply it, and you'll know if he's doing better, and he will know he's doing better. And then note the amount that gives him the most results. And then if you take more than that and he's no better, go back to the lowest amount that gets the most results. But if you take what you think the child should need and he doesn't get results, then you're not taking enough. So you take amount that causes success.
Okay, second part of the question, and our questioner says he or she is 67 years old. I'm not sure their age makes much difference in this case, but they've been taking 100 milligrams of niacin to lower cholesterol, have not felt the flush, and don't know why. Should that person be taking more, or maybe a lot more?
Well, 100 milligrams of niacin is not going to do much of anything. It'll prevent pellagra. But it's not going to lower cholesterol. When doctors use niacin to lower cholesterol, they use thousands of milligrams a day, just like Dr. Hoffer did. In fact, it was Dr. Hoffer who came up with this. He's been largely uncredited. I keep mentioning Dr. Abram Hoffer, but you really want to read his books, because I did, and they taught me a lot. And subsequently, I worked with him, and I'm just passing on to you what he learned. But these questions are going to be necessarily short and obviously incomplete. Go to the organ grinder, not the monkey, my father taught me. And Dr. Hoffer's books are the best source on this. We have a book together called Niacin, the Real Story, and we go into this in more detail. The doses, the forms of niacin, and all the side benefits, the side effects, and all the different aspects that you need to know about. You probably want to increase the niacin, and why not do it gradually? If you're not flushing at 100, I would increase until you do flush, and note that amount. But most importantly, and here it is again, you take what the body responds to. You take the niacin, you take enough to get the job done, probably 1,000 milligrams a dose instead of 100. Expect the flush. Read up on this. You're going to have the flush. You're going to feel hot. You might feel a little woozy. Some people even feel faint. If you're uncomfortable with that flush, you have to back down. But Dr. Hoffer told people to just bear with the flush, and if they keep taking the niacin, the flush will go away. I tell people, because I'm not a physician, maybe you don't have to put yourself in a position of having to tough it out. Gradually increase your niacin. You are at 100 now. I would go up 100 every day or so and see what amount gives you the best results for the least flushing. How do you know if you're taking enough? You won't know for a while, but in a few weeks, certainly within a few months, you should have your cholesterol checked again. Oh, and to go back to the question with the boy, should he have a liver profile done later on? The answer is yes. Everyone who takes high doses of niacin or niacinamide should have their liver enzyme tests done. These used to be called liver function tests. They're liver enzyme tests, and you will probably see elevation. As Dr. William Parsons of the Mayo Clinic, an expert niacin researcher, said, increase is expected in liver enzymes because this is a sign of liver activity. It is not a sign of liver pathology. So you need to have the test to make sure you don't have a huge increase in liver enzymes, which might indicate a problem coming down the road. A mild elevation is not an indication of anything except that the liver is working. The liver does lots of stuff, and you have to expect that the liver is going to be busy when it's detoxifying the body, when your health is improving, and when you're introducing a substance like niacin. So yes, have the liver test done. It's easy to do. They don't check your liver, they check your blood. So you have the blood tested for various things, and you say, what, by the way, would you check the liver enzymes? I do that, and my liver enzymes are normal. I've been taking huge amounts of niacin for a long time. If you notice a mild elevation, Dr. Parsons says that is simply a sign of liver activity. But have the profile done to rule out any major changes. It's always good to be cautious. It's just common sense.
Okay, we'll switch now to vitamin C, and I keep mine right beside my computer so that I don't forget to take it during the day. Our questioner is a holistic health coach helping people manage autoimmune conditions. Two-part question, and I'll give them both to you together, Andrew. Does vitamin C remove heavy metals from the brain and other organs? And what would be a good vitamin protocol for retroviruses, EBV, shingles, etc.?
Well, the good news is the answers to both these questions are already in print and free access. Does vitamin C remove heavy metals from the brain and other organs? The answer is yes, it does. The Orthomolecular Medicine News Service published a nice article by a Canadian physician who actually saw this with lead. It was Eric Patterson up in British Columbia. So do a Google or Yahoo search for Orthomolecular Medicine News Service, Eric Patterson, vitamin C, lead, something like that. And you will find this article, or go to orthomolecular.org and click on the link to the archive for the Orthomolecular Medicine News Service. There's also a link at my website, dryourself.com. So it's Eric Patterson, and it was an article about vitamin C removing lead, and you want to read that. As far as retroviruses go, as far as viruses in general go, vitamin C is the cornerstone of any vitamin protocol for these. And if you read the work of Dr. Robert Fulton Cathcart, a physician in California, USA, you will get a tremendous amount of detail here. So at dryourself.com, we have papers, several papers written by Cathcart that Dr. Cathcart gave me permission to post. And you will have your vitamin protocol set right out in front of you there. The amount of vitamin C necessary is quite high. Vitamin C is an antiviral. It's the best one on the planet. It's the safest one on the planet. It is the cheapest one on the planet. So naturally, none of this is on television. So it's up to you to please go and read Dr. Robert F. Cathcart and read his article on titration of vitamin C to bowel tolerance, in other words, dosage. And he has other commentary, The Third Face of Vitamin C, and additional papers that you want to look at. There's also one or two videos of Dr. Cathcart on YouTube, and I have a link to one of these at dryourself.com. Learn from the master. Cathcart knew more about virus fighting with vitamin C than anybody I know.
Our next question comes from Yana, and it's something I've never come across before. Yana says, if I take a few grams of vitamin C every few hours when I'm sick, it sure helps with colds, but it triggers severe dermatitis on her face. Why does no one talk about this? Is this normal? She says, I hear it happens to many people. I've never heard of it before.
Well, I haven't either, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen to many people. I expect that you're telling the absolute truth, and we always start from there. Biggest mistake you can make, a doctor once told me, is to not believe a patient. If they tell you it's happening, it probably is. So the reason is why. The vitamin C is helping you, obviously. It's helping you with the colds, which is good. And then you have this other issue. And to me, that suggests that there is another issue. And vitamin C is good for an awful lot of things, but it's not good for everything. Maybe you're eating certain foods that don't agree with you. Dr. Hoffer would suggest that perhaps you've got some food allergies. You might want to try avoiding things you know that are bad for you. I knew one young woman who took a lot of vitamin C for her allergies, and she was allergic to hay and horses, and she loved horses and lived on a farm. And when she took a lot of vitamin C, 20,000 milligrams of C a day, her allergies went away. But if she drank beer, they came back whether she took the C or not. Now, maybe she could have taken more C, but maybe she also should have stopped drinking all the beer. So I would suggest to you that you try the basic stuff first. I'd recommend that people move towards a plant-based diet, get as close as they can to a plant-based diet, not entirely, but close. And I recommend that you don't eat any junk food. I recommend that you cut out sugar as much as you possibly can. I recommend that you stop taking unnecessary over-the-counter drugs, and that you get plenty of exercise. These are lifestyle changes, and now just when you thought it was safe to sit down again, Michael, get out that juicer. because vegetable juices, as my great uncle would say, are good for what ail you. And the first thing I would do with a weird symptom, especially if it's the skin, that seems to come out of nowhere, is I would start having lots of fresh vegetable juices. I have seen this work for so many people. Why does it work? We can go on forever, but there's no need. Vegetable juices are good for you, can't hurt you. So that's what I would do. I would really look at your diet and get juicing.
Now, I'm glad to say all our questioners today are thanking us in advance. So they're a very, very appreciative bunch. And the next question is from someone who also says, thank you in advance for the opportunity to put my question. The question, two-parter, does taking high-dose C in the form of powder, 100% ascorbic acid, mixed with water, irritate the vocal cords or the esophagus? I'm someone who has taken a lot of powdered vitamin C. I've never had an issue with my throat or anything like that. Second part of the question is, how is ascorbic acid in powder crystal form produced?
All right. Well, first of all, if you use ascorbic acid, you're using the kind of vitamin C that plants make and animals make. So it's a natural form of C. It is a mild acid. It is not quite as acidic as vinegar, but more acidic than orange juice. It is a weak acid. Will it irritate the vocal cords? Not unless you inhale it. The vocal cords are not in the esophagus. They're not in the food tube, as my son would put it. The vocal cords are in your windpipe, and nothing should go down your windpipe. I don't care what it is, anything, if you inhale it, is likely to irritate your vocal cords. Don't do that. So don't worry about the vocal cords. Now, the esophagus, or the food tube, the actual way food gets from your mouth to your stomach, that to some extent is going to be bathed in this very weak acid. And if you cannot drink a cola soft drink without irritating your throat, well, then vitamin C, which has about the same pH, might also do so. I don't know too many people that can't drink a Coca-Cola if they want to without irritating their throat. But if you were very sensitive, that's at least possible. If vinegar sets you off, or orange juice, again, a very weak acid, maybe. But it's much more likely that it's something else. And take a look at the other stuff you're eating. Maybe you're having other things. I once had some cookies that came in the mail. They were free sample from a reputable major food manufacturer in the United States. And I tried one of those cookies, and by golly, my throat closed up. It really did. There was something in that cookie that I was allergic to. And I read the label after I ate the cookie, and I saw all kinds of chemicals in there. And of course, you might think, well, gee, you know, you should read the label first. But that just goes to show you how these things can happen. So vitamin C is unlikely to really be causing that problem unless you're unbelievably sensitive. If you are, you can switch to sodium ascorbate. Sodium ascorbate is non-acidic. Now, how is ascorbic acid powder or crystal produced? It is made one of two ways. There's an old-fashioned way, which uses fermentation and then some chemical extractions. And then there is a newer way, which was developed in China in the 1960s, that uses a series of fermentation steps. And this is the cheapest and best way to produce vitamin C. And the Chinese came up with it, and they licensed this product, or this process rather, to other pharmaceutical companies as well as their own manufacturer. I can't find the exact way it's done, except it is done through a series of fermentation steps. I think it is proprietary, and they're not about to give away this because it's patented. Bottom line is, it's made from starch. Ascorbic acid is made from some form of starch, broken down into sugar, and then that sugar is fermented in a series of steps, and it gives you, according to what I read, about 60% yield of ascorbic acid. And this is done through fermentation. I would consider that to be a natural process.
Okay, that's pretty good. I've never really thought about that myself, but there you go. That's interesting to know. Now, we have a question from Marion in Orlando, where I'm going to be in a couple of weeks' time after I come and visit you, Andrew. What is the best time of day to take C and D3? Also, if taking very high doses of C, how do you dose so as to absorb the full potency? And finally, how do you know how to combine vitamins so they work properly?
Well, as a good politician would, we'll take the last part of your question first, and your first part of your question in the middle, and the middle part of your question not at all. No. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do you know how to combine vitamins so they work properly. There's nothing to know. The body will sort that out for you. You eat a balanced diet, you take a multivitamin, somehow the body is able to pick and choose what it wants. Trust your body, it knows what to do. Secondly, when's the best time to take vitamin C? All through the day, divided doses. The same with the B complex. They're water soluble. Take them all through the day in divided doses. And with vitamin all at once because it's fat soluble and you don't wash it out. And then finally, if you're taking high doses of C, how do you dose this to absorb the full potency? Refer to my previous comment. You divide the dose with water-soluble vitamins, B complex and C. Divide the dose. How often, you ask? As often as humanly possible. When I was very, very sick, I would take vitamin C every 6 minutes. I know a number of people who fight illness taking vitamin C every half hour. I personally would recommend that at the very least you have vitamin C with each meal and between each meal. Michael, there's another question that we might have missed in the beginning on stress and vitamins. Did you want to get to that one? And sleeping?
Well, I must have missed it. Go ahead. Yes. Oh, yes. I remember. Yeah.
Well, the questioner, Geraldine, says sleeping and stress nutrition. For me, I assume when she's sleeping, she's not eating, or when she's not sleeping, she is, or she's just suffering from sleep issues and stress. And my golly, lots of people are. So here's what you need to do. First of all, and nobody likes this advice, if you really want to improve your sleeping, go to bed earlier. Everybody winces. I've had people absolutely turn on me when I say this. I wanted a nutritional solution. Yeah, well, I'm going to give you this one first. In Ayurvedic medicine, the folk medicine of India, and we're going back thousands of years here, Ayurveda notices that there are cycles in the day. We know there are seasons of the year. We know there are seasons of the month. For women with menstrual cycles, we know that there's all kinds of seasons. We have a diurnal rhythm. We are sleeping at night, wake in the daytime. We make more melatonin. We sleep better at night. All of these things, there's hormones involved, so many things involved. But long before anybody knew what a hormone was, long before this was studied scientifically, observational studies showed that there are times of the day, and these times, these cycles, are called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, Vata time is a time of nervousness, a time of mental activity. And Vata time is between 2 and 6. And that's AM or PM. The cycle's every 12 hours, so you have 2 repeating cycles every 24. During Vata time, it's very difficult for people like me, for instance, to have a calm mind. So the trick is to not go to bed at 2 in the morning because you won't sleep at all. At least I won't. Now, the other time, right before that, is Pitta time. And Pitta time is 10 to 2. Now, Pitta time is a time of physical activity. So if you go to bed at 10 at night, you may find you're catching your second wind and you want to go and play cards, visit your friends, go out for a cold one, work on the house, paint a room. Many people find it physically difficult to calm down between 10 and 2, and mentally difficult to calm down between 2 and 6. Just when you thought there wasn't any answer here, there is, because Kapha time is between 6 and 10. Kapha time is a time of ease, relaxation, calm, sedentary tendencies, and just plain and that is between, again, here it is again, 6 and 10. That's why after dinner, many people find that they want to take a nap, and then later on at 10 o'clock, they wake up and they can't sleep. Well, your body's trying to tell you something, except don't wake up. You need to actually go to bed early. And you can, as I used to say, tape that show on your VCR or record it on your DVD player and watch it tomorrow. When I had trouble sleeping, I, out of desperation, took this advice and didn't want to. But I started, because I kept waking up at 1:30 every single morning. And I tried going to bed later thinking I'll be more tired, still woke up at 1:30. So in desperation, I started going to bed at 7:30. And by golly, I slept until 2:30. Now, you might think that's not much of an improvement, but now I had all those hours sleep. I slept from 7:30 to 2:30, and automatically life was better. And pretty soon I slept from 7:30 to 3:30, and then 7:30 to 4:30, and then I was ready to get up, and I had a terrific night's sleep. So this really works. When you try it, you will see it. In addition to that, some people find that extra niacin or niacinamide will not only help them sleep better, but calm them down. We've already talked about niacin. These are both good techniques. Avoiding caffeine and avoiding sugar, especially in the evening. A cup of coffee after supper, for some people, not a good idea. We need to avoid the chemical stimulants, obviously. And we need to remember during the day to get out and have plenty of exercise, because exercise in the morning and the afternoon will help you sleep better at night. So these are all things that people don't like to do, but I have personally found they all really work. So you have to discipline yourself, get more exercise, eat a better diet, and go to bed earlier. Michael, they complimented us in advance, but now I'm sure the cards and forms will be coming in saying, what are you, crazy? I can't go to bed early at night. Okay, fine, you can't. But if you want to solve your problem, and I think sleep is one of the most important problems to solve, this is what you might want to try. If all else fails, try what might actually work.
Okay. Now, another question is it possible to obtain a checklist of major vitamins and minerals in their most bioavailable form and the maximum safe amount that can be consumed? This will prevent confusion and possible toxicity.
Well, it would be nice, but you're not going to find that except from partisan sources. People that are trying to sell you something generally will go out of their way to let you know exactly what you should do as long as you use their products and don't take those other ones. But you can go on the internet and find right away all the vitamins and minerals that you need. As far as bioavailable form, this is a point of contention, and I'd like to straighten out this as quickly as I can. Generally speaking, minerals should not be in sulfate or oxide forms. You're better off with a citrate form or a gluconate form. You will find people selling mineral supplements that have all kinds of designer brands and types. And if you have the money, fine, go for it. But really, your body's pretty good at absorbing things. If you flatten out your intestine with all the little nooks and crannies, all the little villi, all the little indentations and convolutions, if you flatten out your intestine, your absorptive surface past your stomach, it's half the size of a regulation basketball court. So you are designed to absorb, and you do. And a lot of people have this idea that they're not going to absorb their vitamins and minerals, but that's not true, because we'd all be dead. Look at the animal kingdom. They manage it, and they don't even take supplements. So they're able to extract very small amounts of nutrients out of the food they eat. When you take a supplement, it's even easier because there's just more of it. With having said that, avoid the oxide and sulfate forms of minerals, and any of the others are going to be pretty good. I recommend that you don't spend an awful lot of money on this. If you're spending $40 or $50 or $60 or euros for a vitamin bottle, you're spending too much, in my opinion. Now with vitamins, vitamin C and niacin are very tiny molecules. They're smaller than glucose. You can't not absorb them. After all, how come people keep talking about the niacin flush if they didn't absorb the niacin? Niacin and vitamin C are very small organic molecules. They're easy to absorb. Even the giant vitamin, which is B12, cobalamin, is absorbed fairly well in most people except the elderly. And this thing is huge. It has an atomic weight of over 1,500. It's a really, really big, it's the elephant in the living room of vitamins. If your body can absorb B12, it can probably absorb the others. Once again, people are trying to sell you a product. They will tell you that you won't absorb your vitamins, but look around, read the research. For 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, even 80 years, Cheap vitamins have been given to people without the slightest concern about absorption. And clinical research, all of these studies that have been done, nutritional studies, show that most people respond to most anything when it comes down to nutrition. Your body is very good at absorbing. If you have a special case, if you have a particular medical condition, or if you have plenty of cash, you go right ahead and spend more money. But please understand here that there isn't any confusion. Just take your vitamins. I don't recommend a brand. I don't care what brand you get. There's lots of good ones. As far as possible toxicity goes, there's not one death from vitamins per year in the United States, not one. And this has been shown with statistics from the American Association of Poison Control Centers for over 30 years. So there is no toxicity issue except in the case where people take really, really, really large doses. An example would be there was a dairy in Boston that put 800 times the proper amount of vitamin D in milk. And this went on for close to 2 years. Hundreds of people got sick. Some were hospitalized. I think there were 17 hospitalizations because of huge vitamin D as in Doug overdose. There was one death, not from vitamin D, but from a medication administered by the hospital. So even in roaring, crazy abuse, vitamins still don't kill anybody. Doesn't mean you should take too many. The more you read about vitamins, and you have to because there's a number of these, we can't answer it all right now, but the more you read about this, the more impressed you will be about the safety of vitamins. So your question is very broad reaching, and it is best answered by reading. And I have to assign homework. I would recommend that you read Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone by Dr. Abram Hoffer. I was his co-author. Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone will really answer your two questions here more thoroughly and in greater detail.
Fantastic. Our next questioner is hepatitis B carrier. I have a regular blood test every 6 months. What is the best supplement or vitamin for me to take in order to maintain the liver in good condition?
Well, if we answer this in the singular, what is the best vitamin for you to take? It would be vitamin C. Vitamin C is the antitoxin. Vitamin C is very valuable in keeping the liver healthy. It helps to reduce fatty liver. It helps to reduce cirrhosis of the liver. It helps to improve liver function in general. And unlike the niacin, it will never raise liver enzyme tests. It will help to preserve the integrity of the liver. This is why, by the way, Dr. Hoffer gave vitamin C along with niacin. So vitamin C being an antiviral and an antitoxin and just a good all-around inexpensive, good for what else you kind of supplement, that would be number one. But when I've worked with hepatitis patients, we also get them on lots of B complex, including niacin, but all of the B vitamins taken as a team. So I would change your question to what are the best supplements, plural, and that would be vitamin C and the B complex. Remember, dividing the dose, have your tests. One fellow wrote to me, he had had hepatitis, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. And he had absolutely no symptoms because he was taking all his B vitamins and his vitamin C. And he wrote and sent me a testimonial for people that might be skeptical. I posted this at dryourself.com. Just do a search there for hepatitis and you get to read what this guy did. He didn't really want to change his diet. He really didn't want to change his lifestyle, but he was willing to take a lot of B vitamins and C. And for him, that's what worked.
Okay, a long question now, and I'm going to let it run a little bit more because there's a lot to this. Greetings from Cavan. I presume that's County Cavan, which is just 60 miles down the road from me in Belfast. Joy picked up a mention from a doctor that magnesium can't be supplemented when a person has a heart block. I have a first-degree heart block. Most of the time, my magnesium levels, according to the serum results, are okay, but I do have deficiency symptoms. Can I take magnesium or should I leave it? I have atherosclerosis and would love to reverse it. I take K2, D, and C. I have lots of medical problems. I'm on beta blockers and should be on statins and PPIs. I'm fed up with all the meds. No wonder I want to get off them all. So, Andrew, what on earth would you recommend?
And you mentioned your magnesium levels are normal according to your serum results, but with magnesium, you can't judge by serum. I know people that have serum results and they'll show there's no magnesium in them. And then they take a lot of magnesium and their serum results come up a little bit, but they're still benefiting from it. So the magnesium in the cells is not the same as the magnesium in the blood. Now, you're saying you had deficiency symptoms, which suggests to me that you might be a person who needs magnesium, the mineral magnesium, but you are showing that it's in your blood, therefore you're not taking any, but you have deficiency symptoms suggesting that you need it. Now, this is a little bit of a weird situation, but once again, what would happen if your cells were deficient and your serum said you were all right? Therefore, I would want to know if you can take a magnesium or not. And you're going to have to settle this with your doctor. I can't answer that for you. You have, you're taking K2 and vitamin D and C. Excuse me, I really am talking too much today, Michael. I apologize. Taking Michael's advice, drinking lots of water. You're taking K2, which is a good idea, but is optional. If you have a lot of K1 in kale and green leafies, your body will make the conversion to K2. It's fine if you want to take the K2, but it's better if you eat kale and let your body do the conversion. Vitamin D, vitamin C, you have lots of medical problems. You're on beta blockers. There they are, and should be on statins. Well, I don't know about that. Niacin works as well or better than statins and is far safer. Your case here is very confusing, and we can't answer this, and I'm not a cardiologist, and I'm not a physician, and neither are you. So let's take this one step at a time. Going back, start vegetable juicing. I know that's counterintuitive, but let's go for that one first. Let's improve your overall nutrition and get you vitamins and minerals and good stuff from vegetable juices. Take a look at your diet, make sure you're not eating any junk, lower the sugar, ask your doctor for a declining dosage for your medication. Ask the doctor if you can gradually wean yourself off one medication. And if you're taking several medications, recognize that medications interfere with each other, and this is harder than it sounds. That's why you need to go to the doctor who put you on the medication to gradually wean you off it. Now, to make it more likely that you can wean off it, you need to improve your nutrition at the same time. In addition to juicing, I would recommend you take a good multivitamin with each meal. I don't know how much vitamin C you're taking. You didn't state that, but you might want to read up more about that at dryourself.com and read those papers by Dr. Robert Cathcart. So you need to make a big, big change here. And the biggest change is you have to become informed. And we can't solve this big question, these many questions, right now. You're going to have to look into this, and that's what Dr. Yourself is for. Do a search there for these topics and read everything Dr. Abram Hoffer wrote. I think that will give you the knowledge you need in order to accomplish the goal you have.
Fantastic. The next question is, why are there so few liquid multivitamins on the market, which are certainly easier and more convenient to take? I would disagree. I prefer tablets. Is there a quality difference compared to the ones in tablet form?
Well, relatively speaking, I guess there aren't that many liquid multivitamins, but I've always been able to find them. You go on the internet, my gosh, there's all kinds of liquid multivitamins for children, and then there are some for adults. If you prefer that, go for it. Along with Michael, I prefer the tablets or capsules or powders, which you put in fruit juice. But powders taste awful. Liquid multivitamins, in order to not taste awful, because they're not in capsules or tablets, they have to have some kind of a flavoring and usually sweetener. So you need to beware how they're sweetened. I think artificial sugars are a bad idea. and natural sugar is better than artificial sugar, but do you really want a lot of sugar either way, whether it's fake or real? If you want to have a multivitamin, recognize that potency in shelf life are probably the big factors. When you open a bottle of liquid multivitamins, the potency of the vitamin C is going to go down very quickly. Multivitamins that are liquid tend to be lower potency to begin with, and vitamin C is lost as the product is kept in your refrigerator when it's open. You can get around that by just adding more ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate to it every day, and that'll bring the vitamin C fraction right back up. The B vitamins are pretty stable. In fact, most of the other vitamins are going to be stable for the life of that bottle if you keep it in the refrigerator. Is there a quality difference? No, I don't think so. Read the label and see. The side label tells you the actual form of the vitamin. So you have to put your liquid next to the capsules or tablets, and you have to actually read and go and do a line-by-line comparison. They're probably very similar, except the capsules or tablets will probably have more of it.
Okay. Bruce wants to know about side effects, symptoms of having too much of each of the vitamins present in the body. I was curious about how fulvic and humic acid apply to vitamin mastery. What place should this be in a person's wanting to strengthen and detox their body? If not, why not? If it is a good thing, then could you please explain what and how, or why and how it is beneficial?
All right, we'll take the first question first. What are the side effects, symptoms of having too much of each of the vitamins present in your body? That is dead easy to find on the internet. Just do a search. You will get it right in front of you. Everybody tells you what the dangers are of having too much of each of the vitamin. That is all too easy to find. What they don't tell you is what the actual dosages are that are actually harmful. You'll run into something called the tolerable upper level, which many people take to mean the safe upper limit, and that's just not true. A tolerable upper level is the amount that will virtually never cause any symptom in anyone ever. So the RDA for niacin, which is around 18 milligrams or 15 milligrams a day, has a tolerable upper level of 35 milligrams. Because someone somewhere might flush at 36. The same with vitamin C. The tolerable upper level of vitamin C is 2,000 milligrams a day, which is a joke because the therapeutic level is an order of magnitude above that, 20,000 or even 80,000 or even 150,000. So you will find all kinds of cautions saying too much, too much, too much, too much. What you won't find is information on the safety of megadoses unless you go looking for it. And the key word would be orthomolecular, not to sell a product. I have no financial connection with anybody who does. You want to stay away from partisan or biased or sales-oriented information. And that's why I would recommend that you search very carefully. At doctoryourself.com and with the Orthomolecular Medicine News Service, we've commented on these things, and I would recommend that you do more reading. And unfortunately, that's the only way when you have a question as broad as yours to give you a proper answer. Now, fulvic and humic acid, we're talking about compost. These are things that are in compost, in humus, in the bulky organic part of soil. And I think the best way to benefit from these things is to have organically grown food that's grown in good quality soil with lots of humus and lots of compost. So if you want to strengthen and detox your body, grow your own food as much as you can. And in a garden, you'd be surprised how much you can grow. Lettuce, kale, parsley, zucchini, all the squash, summer squash, winter squash. You can grow tomatoes, you can grow beets, you can grow beans. These are easy things to grow. Greens you can grow, they grow themselves. Have an organic garden and you will have, if you put in your compost and work the soil and make sure you build that soil with your kitchen garbage, your eggshells, the peelings, but not citrus peelings. Do not put citrus peelings in your compost. Two reasons. One is citrus are treated with all kinds of chemicals on the outside, but also citrus will form an antibiotic when it naturally decomposes. The mold on oranges actually acts as an antibiotic, which is interesting, except you don't want to kill the good bacteria in your compost pile, so leave the citrus out. When you have organically grown food, you'll get the same benefit. Maybe you can't have a garden, maybe you don't have the space, so you buy organic food. Now, what if you don't have the money for organic food? You better find the space for a garden and start making your own compost pile. This is how you get the benefits, in my opinion. You eat the organic food that'll have the minerals and nutrients in it. You have the juices from these foods. You have stuff right out of your garden, which is fresh and raw, and by the way, cheap and delicious. Every year, I spend maybe $45 on my garden, and I bring in $2,000 or $3,000 worth of produce, and that is literally true.
And I can testify to that, because I have had your very own beet soup from the beets you picked out of your garden, and soup made by your own fair hand. So you put your money where your mouth is. Thank you for that, Andrew. And just while you were saying, I know you've always maintained integrity and partiality. You don't endorse brands, you don't endorse particular products. But second part of our next question really is, in that vein, would you recommend me a doctor or clinic that would be willing to make a treatment program for me? And we've already had two people who say they can't find a holistic or naturopathic or alternative practitioner in their area. So how does somebody go about finding the kind of doctor, the kind of clinic or whatever they need?
Well, you can do it the new way, and that's to get on the internet and search like crazy. You can do it the old way, which is to ask around. Go to health food stores, talk to your friends, just beat the bushes. If I were to tell you that the winning lottery ticket is somewhere in your house, you would drop what you're doing and you'd go looking for it. And a lot of folks just want to have them directed to a doctor or a supplement, and that's not going to happen. Even if you find a good physician, you still have to do it mostly yourself. The doctor is your employee, the doctor is your helper, but you have to run the case. And a good doctor works for you and will help you in this way. By the way, if you don't think the doctor works for you, just ask yourself, in an employee situation, you can always tell who the employee is, because the employee is the one that's getting paid. So even if you find a doctor, you still have to learn and read and know, and you still have to run your case yourself. So keep looking. That's the only way. There is no simpler way. If I want to find something, I have to look for it, and you have to look for it, and there is no sweet way to put that.
Well, that question came from Alitza, and the first part of her question is, what supplements can you possibly recommend for spinal muscular atrophy type 2? I switched to a vegetarian diet and it helps me a lot, but it seems my muscles and nerves need more help to be recovered in full. So what would you recommend there?
I congratulate you on switching to a vegetarian diet. That's a wonderful step. That's one of those things that, in my opinion, is fundamental to being healthy. To get as close as you can to a plant-based diet. Doesn't have to be perfect, but move in that direction, and you did good for you. And you say it helps me a lot. Now that's really good. That is proof you experience benefit from having a better diet. Well, now you probably might experience benefit by having supplements that would help. Spinal muscular atrophy is sort of a cross between multiple sclerosis and muscular dystrophy. Now, those who are going to say, what is he saying? That's not true at all. Well, these motor neuron diseases have more in common than they do differentiating themselves. And whenever you have something like this, the first thing to do is to go and read what Dr. Frederick Robert Conner said many decades ago. in his protocol for treating multiple sclerosis, which is also applicable to related problems with nerves and muscles and their connections, their nutrition, and their normal function or their abnormal function. Dr. Quenner's complete and highly detailed protocol is a free download at doctoryourself.com. Thanks to the nice people at the Townsend Letter for Doctors and Patients who let me provide that for you. So it's Quenner, K-L-E-N-N-E-R. You go to doctoryourself.com. That's my website. And on the left side, there's a vertical column, a yellow index. Go down that just a little bit, and you will find the Quenner protocol. And you can click that and get a free download. Read this over. And if it is not easy for you to do that, hand it to your doctor. And if the doctor does not want to read it, get another doctor. And if you cannot find another doctor, find a neighbor that will read it and interpret it for you. And if you cannot find a neighbor or a doctor, you're really in trouble. So you should be able to come up with one or the other. And Dr. Quenner's protocol is so complete that I send people to that right away. And this is the one thing most patients have never seen and most doctors have never seen. So let's get the big one out of the way first. The Quenner protocol for multiple sclerosis is widely applicable for motor neuron diseases and things related to motor neuron diseases. Feed the nerves and the muscles first, and you do that not only with a good diet, congratulations again, but by having these large doses of the various nutrients, particularly the B vitamins and vitamin D and vitamin C. The Quenner protocol, that will answer your question.
Fantastic. We're on the home straight now. 2 more questions. Errol wants to know, which vitamins target diabetes, cholesterol, and high blood pressure?
No vitamins target anything. You need all the nutrients all the time. It is true that with certain illnesses, certain vitamins have therapeutic value and you can take more. But let me give you an example. Diabetes. Well, we don't know if it's type 1 or type 2, but there's a relation here for all the B vitamins and vitamin D and vitamin E. Cholesterol, there's a relation here for the B vitamins, especially niacin, and vitamin C. High blood pressure, well, losing weight is the first one. Now, if you're skinny and have high blood pressure, pay no attention to what I'm saying. But if you're overweight, and an awful lot of people are, you got to get rid of the weight if you want to get rid of the pressure. With high blood pressure, you also have value with the B vitamins, and if it's used in gradually increasing doses, vitamin E. So you see what you've got going here. This, to me, looks like a broad question, like so many of the others have been, and it means you're going to have to research and look into this more thoroughly. You're looking at illnesses and vitamins in a big way, and it's going to be necessary for you to do some big research. Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone by Dr. Hoffer is very good. Niacin, The Real Story, will tell you more about niacin. Cholesterol Control Without Diet by William Parsons will tell you a lot about niacin, specifically with cholesterol. And there's a good book by Ian Brighthope, a wonderful Australian physician, called The Vitamin Cure for Diabetes. And I would recommend that you look at that.
Well, one thing I remember Jonathan Wright talking to me about when I last interviewed him was testosterone. And he said when he started to practice, he would find lower testosterone levels in gentlemen of a certain age. But increasingly, he is finding that now in men, not just in their 50s or their 40s, but in their 30s. So Jonathan is asking, can you talk about testosterone treatment for men, which is becoming so popular? And are there natural ways to enhance testosterone levels?
All right, I'm going to be the old fogey here and say I'm against it. I am against hormone treatments in general. I have one simple reason for that. I just don't trust them. I do not think you should mess with the body's hormones. The limit to that would be vitamin D, which works sort of like a hormone, or melatonin, which helps to improve sleep and reduce risks of breast cancer, of course. These are about as hormony as I would want to get. I really question hormonal treatment. I think people are looking for the goat gland magic elixir of fertility and youth, and you're not going to find it, in my opinion, by introducing hormones into the human body, which is so carefully balanced already. You give me a new Ferrari, and the last thing you want me to do is to lift up the boot or the lid and take a wrench and start making adjustments to it. You give me a new Jaguar or a new Rolls Royce or a new Lamborghini, the last thing you want me to do is to open up the hood and start making adjustments to it. And I think the human body is the biological equivalent of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. You need to stop messing with things. If you want more vim and vigor and youth, you need to go to your diet and your lifestyle. You need to exercise, you really do. You need to do vegetable juicing, you really do. You need to have a plant-based diet, you really do. And you need to actually adopt these measures, in my opinion. This is what I think helps restore you. I have talked to a number of people, and I have read about cultures where, when they have natural, wholesome, whole food diet, have plenty of exercise, they're outdoors, they eat good foods and no junk food, there is no need for testosterone treatments because they are naturally virile, they are naturally young, they are naturally healthy. And I really do think that's the way to do it. It's not in the bottle, folks, it's on your dinner plate. And it's not in a syringe or a tablet, it's what you're eating. This is the most important thing. Get the juicer going, get to the plant-based diet, exercise, go out and play, and then you take supplements for specific reasons. And that's why I still recommend high doses of vitamins when you need them. But the fundamental way of dealing with a need for testosterone is to nourish the body so it will make its own. All right, if you absolutely positively try this and it doesn't work, then talk to your doctor about hormone treatments. But I think that should be your last resort, not one of the first.
Well, funny, I just came across in a cycling magazine a study that was done in England. I mean, within the past months, very, very recently, with a significant number of cyclists of mature age, both men and women. I think they were all late 50s, early 60s, and into their 70s and beyond. And the research found that the testosterone levels in the men were much higher than could be expected for men of that age generally. And I mean, I don't think this is specifically to do with cycling. It's probably the fact that they love what they do. It's exercise, it's movement. And I've kind of gone away from the exercise word because I know people who are put off by that. And I talk about movement. And as long as we can move, if people can walk around the block, walk to the end of the street to start, do it regularly, do it often, walk the dog, whatever little form of movement they can do, up the stairs, down the stairs, they can build on that. But I must just find that research for you, Andrew, and let you have a look at it.
Well, that rings true right across the board. When you talk about movement, we might talk about steps. How many steps do you take in a day? And you'll hear people say, well, there's so many thousand steps you should take in a day. I try to walk 4 miles a day. Colleen and I try to do that almost every day unless the weather or some other extenuating circumstance gets in the way. Now, I have a fairly long stride. It's just under a meter a yard. And there's around 1,700 yards in a mile. So if I take a relaxed 4 mile an hour walk, I'm probably taking not quite 2,000 steps per mile. Now, Colleen, who is much shorter, is probably taking more. I might be taking 1,800 and 1,900 steps, but you get my point. So let's say I took 2,000 steps a mile. I walk 4 miles. I've taken close to 8,000 steps. Now, this is a good idea. People ask, what exercise is best for me? The one you will do. The one you will do. What vegetables are best to juice? The ones you will drink. This is where it comes at us right in the face. And Michael, you've got it bore-sighted. The trick is, sooner or later, you have to deal with your own lifestyle preferences. And that is the hardest thing in the world to do. And that's why I put people there right away and say, look, I know you called in with a vitamin question, but it's really a lifestyle answer.
And you've just reminded me, Andrew, one of my favorite quotes from you. It's simple, but it's not easy. So I think that that's kind of sums it up. We know what to do. It's just a case of getting the discipline to do it. So thank you again, Andrew. Always fantastic to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you in the flesh in the next 10 days or so. And thank you, all you Vitamin Mastery people. It's been great to have your questions. Thank you for your questions. And I'll see you soon, Andrew. Okay, that's us off air.